Hey everybody, we're here at the YouTube space. We're about to film the next few episodes. As you can see, Ken is in the background. He's setting up. Say hi. Hey. Yeah, but until then, I still got to get you guys another video for filler week. So I got a cool topic, a hypothetical that I was thinking of doing this time. What if the Earth was upside down? Now, there's a lot of factors that go into this, and I had to do a little bit of research, but it's kind of interesting. So first of all, I'm talking in terms if we literally just took the Earth on the same axis tilt and then left it as it was in the same hemispheres. Also, on regular Earth, about 68% of the land is in the northern hemisphere and 32% in the southern hemisphere. If we flipped these percentages, then most of the land would be in the southern hemisphere and most of the northern hemisphere would be water. However, this would also mean that there would actually be land in the North Pole with Antarctica, which would probably just be called Arctica because we wouldn't need the ant prefix. Now, when it comes to the axial tilt, both hemispheres actually receive about the same amount of sunlight every year. However, not both hemispheres function the same. On average, on regular Earth, Antarctica is colder and has more ice because there's land under it with an elevation, and ocean currents are generally colder in the south, whereas the Arctic is just open sea and has warmer water underneath the ice, which can allow it to melt faster. If the planet was flipped, the new open ocean South Pole might not have access to warmer North Atlantic waters, and with colder ocean currents, the ice might extend further, perpetually covering the land areas around it like Greenland and parts of Russia and Canada. In that regard, the new Arctica continent all the way at the North Pole might actually have less ice due to the warmer northern currents. This would mean that maybe the southern hemisphere, which would have most of the land on it, would actually be a harsher, colder environment to live in. Generally, especially the areas closer to the South Pole. If the ozone layer was still there, it might hinder some of the ice spread, but not that much due to the colder ocean currents that go to the area. I still think polar bears and penguins would stay on their respective continents though. Like, I don't think the new Arctica continent would have polar bears due to the lack of access of land for them to hop on to migrate there. Penguins could probably still make the swim though. So yeah, there would actually probably be penguins at the North Pole. Probably, if this world even functioned to sustain life, that is. Hey, what's up, Keith? And Keith's here! Yay! He's gonna be in the video too. Also, because of the Coriolis effect, all the wind currents would go the opposite direction from what they are now on regular Earth. So all the clockwise currents would go counterclockwise and vice versa. This could drastically change the rain shadow effect on continents, causing some areas to switch dry zones with wet ones. For example, the Atacama Desert in South America, which would now be North America, might receive more moisture and have a more lush landscape, whereas the Chilean Patagonian archipelago would be dry and desolate. It's possible this could also affect other places like the Namib Desert, the Somali coast, the Arabian Peninsula, and the Sahara. This would also mean that Australia and New Zealand would probably experience a lot more snow with the cold currents coming down from the new Arctica continent. They might even be able to witness a lot more aurora boreali. Unfortunately, food would probably be a lot shorter in supply. Most people in the world live by the Tropic of Cancer and in the eastern side by the fertile valleys of China and India. However, if the planet was flipped, the largest land masses having a harsher, colder environment, the majority of the population would probably have to move further up into the new Tropic of Cancer for warmth and fertile ground, which has significantly less area. The Indonesian archipelago, Central Africa, and South America would have to host the Goldilocks zone of population. But with the new wind currents, would these new lands look different, and would they even be arable? Also, keep in mind the moon and tides. If the moon was still rotating at the same position that it is today, it would completely change the way how the continents function in terms of tides. The moon rotates at about 5 degrees from Earth's elliptic plane in an ovular pattern, which means that anything within this range gets hit the most. On regular Earth, this mostly includes lands in the northern hemisphere like Canada's Bay of Fundy and the marshlands of Central America. If the Earth was flipped, these extreme tides wouldn't exist anymore and would most likely affect the vast open empty oceans of the new North Pacific. This would also drastically affect wildlife. Many species depend on tides to survive, managing food sources when they're available when the waters push in. This could also mean that entire oceanic ecosystems could be damaged. Actually, this means the world would probably be a lot worse if it was flipped upside down. I don't know, that's just my conclusion. Anyway, the point is, it's fun to think about these things, and a lot of my speculations could have been way off. It's really hard to calculate exactly what would happen, but yeah, the way how the world works, right side up, seems to be working out pretty well. All right, that's about it for this week. Subscribe if you'd like, and thank you. Stay cool, stay tuned.